You want to remember who you are, but go forward, have a vision. You want to be that trailblazer. Doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. It's what you do when no one's watching that counts. Then, Rocky! So, I'm home one night, and Andrew's struggling with this concept of greater than and less than. He's having some math issues, right? So Debbie looks at me and says, hey, why don't you jump in here, Dad? Might be nice for you to get involved here a little bit. So I'm thinking I could do this. I do ROIC, we do financial stuff at work all the time. I got this. So I sit with Andrew, and I got he's a hockey player. I got 3 hockey pucks here, 4 hockey pucks here, and I'm trying to explain to Andrew, what does this mean? And he says, oh, we got 7 hockey pucks. And I'm like, God, this isn't working. So the next thing I do is I take out a piece of paper, and I draw these symbols. And I said, Andrew, what does this mean? He said, fast forward and reverse. And I thought, wow, the generation of people you hire will be very tech savvy. Second quick story, a friend of mine, his dad passes away after a very long life, and he's going through his stuff in the attic, and he's got an old sport coat, and he puts his hand in a pocket of the sport coat, and in the sport coat is a ticket, 40 years old, for a pair of shoes that his dad had left at a shoemaker on Main Street in Woodbridge. He hands him the ticket, and the shoemaker looks at the ticket, goes in the back, comes back and says, hey, they'll be done a week from Thursday. Procrastination is a killer everywhere you go. Now I want you to start to think about, for not only how you build a solution, but how you think your competitor may build a solution, right? Because as you're building the solution on behalf of this customer, somewhere here someday, someone's knocking on the door to come in and try to win that business from you. And so what are you solving for? We were solving for now, all of a sudden, the drug companies were going end to consumer. So think about it. 10 years ago, when that first started, everybody said that'll never happen. Today, can you watch a TV show without a drug company advertising, hey, if you're not sleeping at night, if you think you see Abraham Lincoln in that little raccoon or whoever, you need this drug, go see your doctor. I remember when we were winning one of our first healthcare customers, the question was asked by the company that was switching over to us. He looked at me and said, here's my concern, that my 1,400 packages a day are going to get lost in the 14 million packages a day inside of this large corporation. And I looked at him, and for whatever reason, don't know, but every now and then I get lucky with a really good answer. The answer I said to him was, well, these aren't packages to us, these are patients. We look at every one of those packages as patients. So we want to put a face to every one of those packages. So that changed us from looking like a large organization to a small organization. That's really the key, is how do they look at you? Do they believe that every one of their jobs is your most important job? So think about how good you are. You're so good when you win a customer that they give you the brand. There's nothing inside an organization that's more important, special. Companies spend millions and billions of dollars to build their brand. That's sacred to them. The single greatest thing a leader does is create a legacy. What is your legacy as a leader? What's your legacy as the owner? For me, it was always, did I leave it a little better place than I found it? Are people better because they worked for me? Are my customers better because they engaged with our business? Did the share owners, stakeholders, did they feel like their business was entrusted to a person who cared about their business and thought like it was their business? If you can start to think of yourself and your business in a legacy term, then it's so important for you to understand who takes over this business. How does this business grow into the next 50, 75, 100 years? This part here, I think, I find very exciting, and I think it's something that you as an individual should aspire to, and you should challenge your people to aspire to that same thing, and that's to be the best, the brightest, most informed, and best educated people in the industry. Nobody should beat you because they figured out something ahead of you. Someone's going to be the best at it. Why not us? And the hardest part for you as an owner is the balance between tactical day-to-day, the P&L of hitting a cash register and enough money for our people, our vendors, and our families, and the strategic vision of where do we want to go in the next 3 to 5. Remember, you cannot put the seatbelt on after the airbag goes off. You can't get to someplace 5 years from now and say, you know what, I should have maybe moved to digital printing. Trusted advisor would be when someone in that room says, hey, before we go any further, let's call Stuart. Let's get Stuart and his engineering team over here to help work with us. Because there's no sense going any further. They're going to have to be a part of it. That's a trusted advisor. An approved vendor is we're putting it out to bid, and how low can you go? It's really a race to the bottom sometimes, unfortunately. In front of that customer, one of the last questions you have to ask is, what keeps you up awake at night? You will find in many cases it's not what you think it is. It may be some pressure they're under from someplace inside their organization, and so if you can relieve that pressure as part of your solution, that's the home run. That's the value you show versus that large integrator. Remember, the strengths of an organization, similar to the strengths of us as individuals, can become our weaknesses if we're not careful. So if you were to go and put down all the strengths of your biggest competitor or that large integrator, their strengths would be size, right? Their strengths would be capacity. Their strengths would be they're well capitalized potentially, right? What would their weaknesses be? Size, capacity. You're just a number to them maybe. So when you think about, do I do important things? Can I compete against that large corporation? Yes. And you know why it's yes? Because people trust you with the brand.